all eyes are on the finance minister this year for the upcoming budget, which is going to come in a very few days from now. To understand how, what are the expectations, what are realistic measures, and what can we do, to ensure that we get the best bang out of the buck. We have a nice panel to discuss here, and I would like to start with the academic here on the panel, Dr. Behra. Sir, can you give us, an overview of what has happened to the defense budget in the past 4 to 5 years? What are the trends we see? And realistically, how much legroom does the government have to allocate larger finances to the defense ministry this year, as we are right now?
As you know, the economy is not doing very well. So this year, the economy will contract about 8%. But at the same time, we are having a severe crisis on our border. So my guess is that even though the economy is not in a good situation, so the government will make sure that the defense forces are funded quite well. Since you asked about the trend, so I can say that since the Modi government came to power in 2014-15, so the defense budget has gone quite reasonably well. For instance, in 14-15, the MOD's budget was around 2,85,000 crore. And in 2021, it has grown to over 4,71,000 crore. So that's a quite significant growth. Although I have my reservations about the quality of spending, we have seen that over the years, much of the increase in the annual budget has gone to serve the manpower cost. So I have some figures. A few years ago, the manpower cost, the salary and the pensions and those related and the other manpower related costs was less than 50% of the MOD's budget, and now that is about 67%. So that means even though the budget is growing quite reasonably well, but not enough money is being devoted for modernization, and that is, I think, the biggest challenge that the finance minister will face in the upcoming budget. So there will be pressure to increase the defense budget, but how much she will be able to allocate for modernization, particularly for the procurement, that one has to see. But I think there are quite good indications that even though the economy is not in a good situation, so the budget, particularly the modernization budget, will see an increase. This is particularly because of the 15th Finance Commission.
I would like to go to Vice Marshal Bahadur. So since you have been very closely associated with tri-services planning and how things are planned at the topmost levels, what do you think are the priority areas that we will see this year on? Given the Chinese challenge, given the Pakistan issue, and given we have seen key deficiencies, capabilities which have come forward, which forced us to go for emergency procurements this last year.
As Lakshman brought out, that though money would be coming in some form or the other, there are two aspects to this. One, of course, is the allotment, and the other is what is it that the services can do themselves. Knowing the fact that they will not get the type of funds that they have been asking for. But be that as it may, for example, training. Can we, just to give you an example, can we get the training together? Training of, say, helicopter pilots, training of the police, the services police personnel, training of the logisticians. The fact remains that that type of saving that you get out from here would not cater for the type of the sums that are involved for capital procurement. When you're talking of any fighter aircraft, you're talking of guns or the armament that needs to go in onto naval platforms. We are rolling out ships, absolutely good. But the fact remains, and it's there in the open press, that the armament on that is lacking at very many places. So to think that we can save a lot of money from doing an in-house, shall I say, better housekeeping, and transfer that, save that money and come onto capital? Yes, so to a certain amount, certainly. But the government has to actually think ahead. You talked about the emergency purchases. Now that's a bad way of doing things because we have not been planning properly. We have reached this stage, and as everybody would agree, when you do an emergency purchase, the other side takes its pound of flesh, and you land up buying things at higher costs. So this planning process now, we've really been bitten very many times when we have to go for these emergency purchases. So if we were to talk for the Air Force, for example, Certainly, Squadron strength that is coming up, that holds sway, but that will take a long time. And that 114 helicopter, the fighter aircraft project, that has to be imported. We are not going to make that. That has to be an import that has to come. How can we use that project to generate employment, to generate technology? We must use that, because nobody in the world is buying so many aircraft at the same time. So to put it in a nutshell, yes, more money would be required. The government would help out, as Dr. Behra brought out earlier, but its hands are tied because of COVID especially. The services themselves can help out by getting coordination going in their logistics, and in certain areas where training and certain operations too can be better controlled.
This resource crunch that we have been seeing is not a short-term thing. We're going to be seeing this in the next 4 to 5 years. That's the prediction of the government. At the same time, we have a very aggressive neighborhood, especially the China challenge. In this context, how does the private sector fit in, and how do alliances with friendly foreign nations fit in? Do you think there is a unique model that can be followed, which which relaxes a bit the pressure on the budget, but at the same time also gives us a higher capability to defend ourselves?
Before I answer your question, I'd just like to bring out one fact, that while it has been brought out that the budget has been increasing progressively, but as percentage of GDP, I think it has been the lowest since the 1962. So the investment, especially that ideally should have gone up with the rollout of OROP, has not been seen, and the progressive reduction in budget has actually brought back the capability development as brought out by AVM Bahadur that should have ideally happened. Now, coming to the Make in India part, what industry wants typically is, and what the government wants, they both are saying the same thing, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. But what is lacking is the commitment towards that. A simple example of that is while the SP chapter, which helps in building the ecosystem in various domains, not a single project, even after 4.5 years, has seen the light of the day. Similarly, in the new DAP which has come out, we see a new chapter on leasing, and we see a lot of leasing that is happening. First thing that has happened is the leasing of MQ-9s that we have already seen. 2 of them are already there in India. There is also in the open domain talk of 3 ship-fitted guns. There is talk of procurement of mid-air refuelers by the Air Force. And there is also talk of procurement of light utility helicopters and trainer aircraft by the Air Force. These are basic equipment. So there is a big gap between the capability development that ideally should have happened, and we are resorting to leasing as a last method. Although leasing is a very good thing in a way, because the cost is less and you get the equipment quickly. But if you take a step back and you look at it, I think it's in a way failure of the entire infrastructure to have brought in that capability well in advance. Now, if we look at all these projects that I've mentioned, these projects, procurement of these items has actually been pending for multiple years, some of them. I think there is a lot that has happened in the past. Some things have been slow to take off. For example, DTTI. DTTI has been in the domain for about 8 years, but now after the SOP is in place and there is provision even in the new DAP to procure equipment through DTTI, now is a time wherein a lot of impetus from both sides can be given, and a lot of projects can be co-developed and co-manufactured for procurement. And why I'm specifically mentioning DTTI is because these are going to be futuristic platforms. These are not the existing platforms which we are just trying to get from one country to the other. That is one aspect. The second aspect, when you talk of bilateral, is of course with the signing of foundational agreement, and especially the ISA with the US, I think there is a lot of execution that needs to be done to get the most bang from the buck that we talk about. And the execution of ISA and other foundational agreement is what is going to help in the Indian industry getting its capability. And for all this, there is a significant budgetary requirement which needs to be catered for, but because at the end of the day, you cannot compromise the national safety.
If there was one expectation from the budget, what would it be the top priority? I'll start with mine. My focus would be that in this budget, if we see more money being allocated towards startups and investing in new technology like the IDEX thing that we do, I think that's going to help us in a long manner. And the second thing that I think could be essential in this budget is finding new financing models for defense modernization, like Dr. Behera said, on perhaps a non-lapsable fund or maybe a defense financing corporation. That's my expectation. If you have to see something different, request starting with Dr. Behera on one expectation that you would seek on this budget. Thank you.
Yeah, so my expectation is on the modernization front, because in the last 3-4 years, the capital budget has actually witnessed around 25 to 30% shortages. So I think if the capital modernization budget, which is around 90,000 crore this year, it is increased by 10,000 crore or 15,000 crore, so that would be a good boost to the modernization.
The acceptance of the fact that monies will be limited for the next few years, if not even for a decade, because capital acquisitions are very high. So what I feel is that with the CDS in place, I think the services must put their head together and say, how will we fight the next war? And where should that chunk which the government will so painstakingly bring out and give it to the defense, give it to the capability that is required by whichever service? It should not be that the Air Force wants this and the Army wants this or the Navy wants this. Knowing that the pie is limited, what are the voids are to be identified in whichever service that is there, considering the type of war that we are going to fight in, or considering the challenges that are going to face us. That is the duty of the armed forces to put together.
The economy, not just of India, but the world across the world, has actually plummeted. And but we have seen UK making a commitment of increasing their GDP percentage to 2.2% over the next 5 years, which is a higher increase than what NATO is required, which is 2%. So there is a kind of commitment towards national security that is required. And as a percentage of GDP, I think it will meet all the other requirements mentioned by ABM Bahadur and also mentioned by Dr. Behera. In the meantime, we actually get our capabilities that we are lacking. It's very important to prioritize the project, which is required within the services, which is already in a way being done. But it is most important to actually execute the Make in India chapters so that we get self-sufficiency. Only then the cost of products will come down. As of today, if you look at the latest Tejas fighter, which has been approved, which came to 45,696 crores. If you do a back of the envelope calculation, it roughly comes to about $75 million a piece. And I'd just like to bring out that the fifth generation fighter available in US costs $80 million, which is $5 million higher. So that is because over a period of time, the cost of that fifth generation fighters has come down from more than double of what it used to be to what it is today. So you need to have an ecosystem and you need to work towards an ecosystem for which that needs to be prioritized. That's all from me.
I'd like to thank everyone for a very realistic discussion on the budget. All eyes now on the finance minister. Mostly the bigger point brought out is that, of course, we need more capital budget for the forces. There is an urgent need for a requirement for modernization. And somehow there are also expectations the services have to do more to cut down on expenses. Thank you very much for being on this discussion, everyone. Thank you.